Welcome, and this is the Making Better Business Decisions webinar with VAI Analytics. And in regards to what we're going to give as an outline for now, we're just going to start with the basics. We're very much fired up to show you all of our new S2K Analytics features. We've made some rather significant changes in our lineup for our team over the past year and a half. We've changed over many of our members, brought in a lot of seasoned pros. Jason Richter is actually the Director of Analytics and Applications, and just a slight correction, I'm Director of Application of Analytics and Data Science. So we've changed roles a good deal since then, and I just want to clarify that point. So for those of you who'd like to use data science as part of your forecasting sequence, machine learning, and other advanced topics of artificial intelligence, Jason and I will both play a role in that. However, we can now use the reporting system of the Cognos software that's embedded in S2K Analytics in order to provide you with full application capabilities, including buttons and the ability to open up other applications based on what's currently present to you on the screen. So with that said, we're just going to go through each of our slides, and then we're going to give you a bit of a brief overview of building a report. And then from there, we'll actually showcase some of the ideas that I think will probably help a lot of you understand how you could better use analytics in your business. So looking at the second slide, you'll see that S2K Analytics gives you a full 360-degree view of your business. It's more than just reporting capabilities. This tool set allows you to quickly access relevant insights that you need to enhance your decision-making. That leads to a larger return on your investment from your S2K Enterprise software solution. We can build automation, and there's some of it that's already built into the tool set. With a few clicks, you can schedule a report, for example, within just a few seconds. You can take large amounts of data that's too vast to look at, say, inside of a spreadsheet or print it out as paper. You can summarize it, group it, drill through to the details for any point of interest you have, focus on your hotspots, and manage by exception. So for us, gone are the days of running through thousands of pages of data in Excel. We even still catch a few customers who say that they're printing out thousands of pages each month. Now you can start at the top and slice and dice your way down to the data that you need. Analytics comes packed with over 100 reports from VAI that should at least cover 80% of your needs right out of the box. If you need customization, you can learn from our expert consultants to get the job done. So we'll start with just a brief overview of each of the sections. There's reporting areas for each of the ERP or Enterprise Resource Planning modules that come with S2K as part of the VAI application suite. So starting with the screen in front of you on accounts payable, this folder is like many others in that it provides reporting in all major formats, including PDF or Adobe Acrobat for a lot of folks, as they know PDFs as, and Microsoft Excel. You can also set them up as flat files, CSVs, comma-separated format, or most major formats that you would typically use for sharing data, including XML. You can set up schedules to automatically email these reports to your team as you need, whether it's one report that simply needs to go out to your entire sales team and each one of them gets just their chunk of data, or if you just have one-off reports that need to go off to key stakeholders in your organization or outside of your organization. This allows you to analyze and better schedule, for example, vendor payments when you're looking at the accounts payable. So when your cash is tight, you can figure out who you're going to pay first. Further, you can examine the job cost details and plan your purchases around the promotional discount timeframes of your vendors. This is the kind of careful management that you need, and it allows you to protect your cash flow. The next slide refers to accounts receivable. This allows you to assess whether or not a customer is actually good or bad for your business. Do they use up your customer support resources too much? How do we want to rank our customers? Often it's convenient to rely upon gross sales figures, but that's not really enough. With these reports, you can refine your approach and manage your resources more efficiently. Do they pay you on time? Do you have to keep calling them for every single invoice to get paid? You want to better manage your expectations when the payments will be received. And with S2K Analytics, you can adjust how you want to view aging of your individual customers. You can customize your analysis. You can group those customers based on buckets of aging, based on other criteria as well. For example, you might need to group them by the parent organization, or what's referred to as the parent customer in S2K. Perhaps you want to group them by the ship to. You can move from the summary level down to the detail level to examine the outstanding invoices, and you can prioritize accordingly. Now for our next slide, this is a bit of a movie that you're going to see. This allows us to showcase the dynamic custom reports that you see in our new S2K financial report writer. In this case, in our video, you see that the user is navigated to a data section. They're going to create a new report using our new S2K General Ledger Analysis version 6.3.1. Once this is clicked, a little wizard pops up and asks you what kind of template you'd like. We're just going to start with a very vanilla basic, but there's many templates available to you right out of the package. We're going to create a crosstab, which is a very popular sort of list where you're able to see choose your columns and your rows, very popular for accounting. We're going to navigate under the dates, and we're going to bring over one of many different hierarchies for our time scale. So in this case, we're grouping by company code. And many of our customers manage their accounts through multiple companies. Some of you also, of course, just use one, so it may not apply to you. We're also scrolling through on the left to the account groups and going through into the individual master groups. From here, we're just going to select a couple of items, so the cost of sales, and we're just going to scroll down and bring over the sales itself. So you can see that those are now together on the rows side. At the top level, we now have our periods there. And now we're going to bring over some pre-built filters. The filters are great because it doesn't matter really what platform you decide to build a report on. You still have to build in all the intuitive features that'll make it easy to build reports. So with this one, the user's dragged in the filter, and they've been able to bring in information about selecting a range of periods. Now they're creating a simple gross profit calculation by simply highlighting sales and costs of sales. And now that's in your report. And now we're also building up a custom prompt page. Rather than you having to build it from scratch or hire an IT person, we're just going to reference a library that's basically stored in another report for this purpose, pre-built prompts. So once it's been selected, there's 4 prompts in this particular template. We select one, and now it's available for us to use anywhere in our report, whether it's in the initial page or available to us so that we can adjust a report on the fly. Now it's very easy. We just simply click the play button at the top, and we're able to preview the report. So all of this done without a programmer, and you can see that we're able to type in the periods, and right away we've got 2 months showing up inside our list. And now we've just changed the month, and on the fly changed it and get 4 months. We can exchange our view and go to a PDF or Adobe Acrobat, Excel, or any other format that makes sense for that particular report. Now, moving on to the next screen, we see the inventory management package. And this is, of course, vital to any healthy company. You want to definitely understand your liability, your stock status, and really better manage your holding inventory costs. You want to avoid out-of-stock scenarios as much as possible and manage your inventory levels to position your company for victory. How do you get there? Well, quickly recognizing when certain products are winners or losers is key. This allows you to respond in a timely manner so you can take advantage before the window of opportunity is closed. So you improve your position to obtain business loans by reporting your inventory value easily. And towards that end, you need to be able to see that valuation quickly. These reports provide you that kind of capability. In order to determine which products are winners or losers, you want to be able to assess not only your current inventory, but also what the sales velocity looks like. And with these reports, we can easily compare those two. Moving on to the next screen, we see one of our newer reports is the slow-moving inventory application. That slow-moving inventory application allows you to determine where you have inventory that's stuck, and it may be causing a problem in your sales and your holding costs. As you can see, I think our screen just needs to catch up. I see it's still on inventory management. I see it may be a network issue. There it is. So as you can see in this screen, there's buckets for 6 months, 12 months, year and a half, and 2 years of not selling products. And we're able to see very easily the valuation of those products broken out in several different manners over time. From here, we can simply click on one of these in order to go into the details and identify any of the items that are in that. So we're going to, in this case, go ahead and drill into, I believe, 2 years or more. And we're going to get a breakout of all of the items that are have not sold for 2 years or more. And we're just waiting for the list to come up. There may be, again, there's a bit of a network issue, so apologies for that. But what you'll get are all the details on those items. Here we are, as well as the quantity on hand, current inventory costs. But more importantly, this is actually an application. So we can actually take action on those items that are not selling. We can set them up so that we're able to either write them down or write them off for tax purposes. We can create a button linked to the pricing application. So whether you use VAI or another price changing application, you can link to it and go directly by item code and by the location if you need to and the company, and bring up the price changing application. Or you may decide that you just simply need to move it to another location. So we can build a button to launch that application code. Not every customer uses all the same enterprise resource planning modules the same way, so you may need some customization. So by default, you're able to just at a glance go over your options, click on an application that makes sense, and perhaps in this case, move the inventory from a location where it's not selling to where it has high sales velocity. Moving on to the next screen, we'll talk a little bit about the service and rental billing analysis. We have new reporting that makes service and rental billing easier to manage. You can see the big picture of how this part of your business is performing. You can examine your labor, your costs, review your assets and their depreciation status. You can monitor your asset service requirements so you can determine a good strategy on whether or not you want to repair versus replace ad hoc. Or you can set up a series of systematic rules that will alert you via email to when a particular asset needs to be managed for this type of question or repairs. You can also track usage, meter times on your equipment, so you can determine which service and rentals you want to continue to provide to your customers. And you may decide that it doesn't make sense to provide certain services, but maybe you'd like to open up to other ideas because in your CRM application, you've gotten perhaps some requests for that. Moving on, for the IT folks, it's important to have a lot of administration capabilities. You've already seen that we have a lot of built-in automation. From the video of the financial report writer, you saw that there were some filters and templates that were already pre-built into the system to further aid you in building that reporting without needing a lot of technical support. The idea being we don't really want our C-level stakeholders in our company to suddenly be tasked with becoming report developers for software. And so with these tools, we're making it a lot simpler. Same thing goes for the S2K administration folder. Inside here, there's several different reports that make it much easier for you to manage the tool sets than how they come, than the way that they come from the provider, in this case, IBM. You can see who is using which reports and how often, using some of our auditing reporting. You can get more out of the analytical solution by identifying who your ACE analysts are, and who amongst your analysts might benefit from getting additional training sessions, perhaps from VAI or your internal staff. You can list out which of your reports are your most popular, so you can plan productive reviews with your stakeholders and adjust accordingly. You can also see what's scheduled at a glance, and you can figure out if there are any opportunities to consolidate and organize if you have many reports to handle, and it can become a little overwhelming sometimes as you get increasing numbers of reports over the years. There's also a data dictionary for your developers so they can get to the information they need without having to sift through thousands of tables. So there's a lot packed into this area. If you want to learn more, just reach out to us and we'll walk you through it. Moving on to the customer orders section, understanding your current orders is, of course, in progress is key to managing the order ship bill cycle. With these reports, you can stay on top of every critical step to ensure that your customer orders are fulfilled as well as possible. You order them, you ship them, and now you got to collect on the bills and make sure they're invoiced. So we want to manage by exception. What orders are on hold and why? Finding them can be done with these reports. So we move to a data-driven decision-making model rather than just doing that gut-based shooting from the hip that a lot of us are unfortunately used to. Getting orders out of their hold status, for example, improving our customer satisfaction when we find that things are dragging on in our pipeline, highlighting those canceled orders for possible intervention. Why was it canceled? Did we drop the ball? Is there a problem with the customer? How do we quickly zero in on these things without having to search the entire system every morning? Planning production for future orders, demand planning, and of course reviewing authorization needs that you might need from a list report on either a daily or weekly basis, or as you see fit. So moving on to the next slide, you'll see that we are now moving into tailoring reports inside Smart Center. And this is probably one of the most exciting parts of our latest innovations for our team. We're now embedding our S2K Analytics content directly into our Smart Center. Within the inquiries and within the menus themselves. This is our vision of a single pane of glass for you from VAI that we're representing on the analytics team. And toward that end, you'll find that there are many advantages to your team to then further leverage Smart Center and customize it very quickly. So with this capability, we can provide dynamic content quickly for your day-to-day operations. So central to this strategy is our ability to customize that content to the way you do business. Quickly and cheaply, again, these new reports can be added or copy and paste an existing report from which you use regularly. And this makes your solution really kind of a snap to deliver because it's all in one place. If you want to see this, for example, the details of your top 10 items for a customer and see what they're purchasing, you can copy or link that report into Smart Center. Then everyone in the organization benefits from having this all in one place. Now, this is a feature that's going to be released to our customers over the course of beginning in 2024. So the idea here is very clear. We want you to feel comfortable, and we invite you to collaborate with our VAI experts across our company and see what happens when we do things together. So whether you want scorecards to measure or track performance for a specific customer, item, or business unit, or if you need a dashboard to summarize large sets of information and visualize progress, you now have the tools to align your strategy with your objectives. These are fully customizable, what you're seeing on screen, to suit your specific requirements. And these are ones that are, the ones you're seeing on screen are actually ones we've embedded inside of Smart Center. In this example, we can see at a glance a lot of information, the ranking of a customer based on sales year to date. And if you want to know more than just that, you just click on a bar chart. A visualization of the magnitude for both sales and gross profit over the years appears. Also, you see that there are open orders by both the order type and by the order status. Each one of them allows you to drill through into the details. So you could click on one of the bars and look at a specific year for your sales. You can click on the open orders and see the details of those orders and so forth. The same thing goes for the accounts receivable aging, which you see at the far right. And this collection of information really gives you that agility that you need for better decision making at a glance. The idea being, of course, as always, start at a summary level and then click your way into the details that you need. And this goes hand in hand with your ability to quickly manage by exception, instead of having to go back to an IT person and ask them to build a report for you that doesn't exist yet. It's very straightforward if you've got it all in one place ready to go. Moving on to the next screen, we show our executive scorecards for sales. This begins with a company-wide overview of sales history, and it trends your most basic KPIs for cost, sales, and profit. These are pretty common. You'll see them in most reporting applications for most reporting shops across the world. Nothing really new there. But the part that most people miss are the counts, and that's critical because these allow you to give the trends that are important to really analyzing your business in comparison to just simply sales, costs, and profits. So the number of customers that were invoiced, how many sales reps were involved over a specific period of time, how many invoices were completed each week, each month, each year, how many vendors were involved whose products were sold. And your top-level executives can make far better business decisions by being able to correlate business events, whether they be in the industry, for your specific business, or across global events, and the trends over the past 3 years. So for example, you might ask yourself, was it a good idea for me as a sales manager to hire those sales people that I did last year? I hired 3, I had 15. Did my profit eventually increase? Did I make significant progress capturing new markets in other states? You can see that in the map in the lower side, which is mapped to the number of customers captured by state. And that can be trended again over time. Another example might be that I realized I only had one supplier, one vendor for each of my 5 top selling products. So I decided, let's hedge my bets. Typical strategy would be I gave 10 to 15% of my purchase orders to the next best vendor for those top 5 products. And I do this to protect my supply chain in case they jack the price up through the roof and I can no longer get my piece of the profit pie. Or if I decide that, you know what, I just don't want to take any more risks to the next supply chain event like COVID or the next Sandy. So did my vendor redundancy plan pay off? That's obviously a matter of opinion, but at least you can bring all the numbers together in one place and start looking at it at a top level. So these are the types of questions that your stakeholders are definitely going to need to answer. Moving on, we kind of show you a little bit more detail of those scorecards. We're able to break this out by tabs that you see at the top: sales rep, vendor, division, customer, location, and item, and anything else you might like. Territory, price group, etc. We give you top 10 and bottom 10. It could be top 312, bottom 3. It doesn't really matter. It's all configurable. And from here, we can click on any sales rep to drill into any number of reports we choose in order to answer our questions about a person's particular performance, whether they're top or bottom performer. Same thing goes for each of the other breakouts by vendor, division, etc. And then for your Excel users, they'll be excited to learn that they can get all the details they need about how the numbers were used to produce these reports without going all the way down to the bottom level of detail, which might be millions of records for you. Instead, we aggregate just the numbers you need, and you can see them below. So when the user views this report, they have the option at the top, as you saw, to export it to Excel. So now they can manipulate the data and do any types of what-if scenarios that they'd like to do if they're good with using Microsoft Excel. Moving on, we just want to make sure that you're all aware that for your data architects, anybody who is an advanced report developer who wants to be able to fashion reports and get new data into the reporting tool set, that's no longer locked out for you. You can now use the new tool set that ships with all of our installations, which is S2K Analytics Data Modules. Its predecessor, for those of you familiar with it, was Cognos Framework Manager, which was a great tool, but unfortunately is no longer on the roadmap for IBM's future software development, and required some extensive management to learn how to use. This tool is not simple, but it's certainly more attainable than its predecessors and comparable with any data architecture tool currently on the market. It does an excellent job, and it allows you to import data directly from your desktop into the data module. So if you have a spreadsheet, an Excel file that you'd like to view, or if you'd like to bridge to another data source that's going to be blended with S2K enterprise data, you now have that capability. And for those of you who've done data architecture, this type of what's referred to in the 1990s, frankly, as a case tool should be something that's rather familiar. Moving on these S2K data modules, the point being you can now take control of the data modeling and handle it as you see fit. It's self-service. You can add tables yourself. As I said, you can combine data from other ERP modules. So if you want to bridge the gap from sales to inventory, maybe to customer relationship management, or your purchase orders to satisfy the sales, you can all put all of those items together as you see fit. And we can train you, your staff, your vendor, or you can have VAI build it for you. It doesn't really matter to us so long as you achieve your analytics goals based on what fits best for your company and your goals. Moving on to the demonstration of S2K Analytics itself. You can see here that this is a demonstration system, so the name is branded at the top as S2K Analytics-My Company Incorporated. It could be whatever your company is. And I'm just going to blow up the screen a little bit. For those of you who may not have realized, you can use F10, and it should blow up the size and the font of your screen considerably. I should have mentioned that earlier, my apologies. So looking here at this first screen, there's a lot going on, but the main thing is that we're looking at the team content for folders. You'll see that there's folders for My Company Reports. This is anything you want to showcase specifically to your users. An end user can go in here, as well as a developer, and create reports as they see fit. So you might create a sales West Coast report. You can create other folders, executive, and so on. You can enter into these folders and create reports, other folders, as you see fit. And then at any point, it's very easy. You can just right-click on any of these folders and go and see their properties or delete them, just like you might manage files on any system. Whether it be your PC, etc. I'll navigate back up with the cookie crumb trail at the top. You can see a link to team content. You'll also see that there's a data folder that's for authors, people who are creating new content, and you're sure to have somebody in your company who says, I need something special. This is where we would go. There's also folders for each of the ERP modules I mentioned earlier: accounts payable, accounts receivable, customer orders that are in progress, your contact management or CRM, customer relationship management, For the finance folks, general ledger analysis. There's also a new health check, which we'll talk about more in our coming webinars. Inventory management I spoke about earlier, as well as our manufacturing work orders. As in terms of purchasing, there's receipts as well as open purchase orders. We already discussed for the IT folks, SDK administration. All of our sales history typically will show up under sales analysis. We have the service billing for those of you who have a service billing rental business that you need to manage. Smart Center items that would be linked under Smart Center itself are linked directly out of here, as well as our warehouse management. So to begin with, I'm just going to create a basic report so you can all see how easy it is to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and click on New, and there's a host of different entities here. We're just going to start very basic with reporting. And you can see that it immediately asked me what templates I'd like to use and what themes. So in this case, I'm going to go with a one-column report. I could have gone with the VAI template, which has multiple tabs, but I'm just going to go with one. I could also have done 2x3, 2x2, etc. The idea being I don't have to be an artist to work with this tool set. Now I go to the themes, and there are many different colorful ones here. I'm just going to go with the VAI template. Again, looking at the preview for this, we start to see it flesh out on the right. In this case, I'm just going to start with one, and I can click Create. And now it's telling me that I can go to the top side and create some text. I'm going to make a sales report. So I'm just going to double click on it and say Sales Trends. Maybe I'll put in the word analysis, and I'll hit OK. At this point, I need to select a source for my data. I'm not connecting directly to the database because I'd have to learn some advanced database development reporting skills such as SQL. Rather, I'm going to use either a package or a data module that transforms that data for me, making it easy for me to build the report. So once I click on this button, select a source, I'm able to see, again, a navigator to team content. I'll be able to navigate to the data folder and scroll to the ERP module that makes sense. In this case, I'm going to go to Sales Analysis. And I'll pick one of the packages. The most popular one will be SDK Sales Analysis, and click Open. Now I can see on the left, there's a host of metrics, attributes, dates, and codes that are available for me to navigate and bring into my report. We're just going to start with some very basic stuff for today, just to give you a taste of what that can look like. In the middle of my screen, there's an Insert Plus button that I can click on. It asks me if I want to put in any one of these tools. There are many others that I could do from our tool set, but I'm not going to go into those all now because it would literally take a few days to really digest all of that. So starting with the basics, I'll click on the insert and I'll just ask to create a list. It's going to prompt me because this is a fully integrated developer's environment for software development, but I don't have to take any of the options of renaming or going through all the little steps that a developer would do if I'm just doing it ad hoc. So I'll just click OK. And now I'm in what's known as the page design mode. I'm going to go over here to the top right and switch out of that page design mode just for this session and go to the page preview. Now I have a blue section that's a drop zone. I can now navigate different parts of the data set for sales history just by dragging and dropping them into this report, and it'll run the report for me ad hoc. So in this case, I'm going to just start with the dates. I have many different types of dates for reporting. Invoice, order dates, ship dates, posting periods, etc. I'm just going to start with the years of the invoice dates. As you can see here, there's months, quarters, weeks. Most of the things that you would need right out of the box are right here. I'm going to click on the invoice here and drag it into this drop zone. You'll see that there's a vertical bar. And now I can see there's all the years that are available to me for my history are here. I can click on any one of these or multiples in order to go ahead and filter them. The system is smart enough to know what I picked and ask me if I want to include it, exclude it, or do many other types of selections. Just to keep things simple for now, I'm just going to pick 1 year, 2023. Again, I'm going to move my mouse over the filter. This is part of what's known as the action bar at the top. And each one of these actions will tell me with its mouse over in black what that particular tool does, making it very easy for me so I don't need to go through a lot of training to get started. In this case, I'm going to take the funnel, which is, of course, the filter. It knows that I picked the year 2023 and asks me what I want to do with it. Include, less than, greater than, is that a range point? So in this case, we're just going to focus on 2023. Next thing I'd like to do is just bring in some basic measures, top line. So I'm going to expand on the left, the sales metrics, and I'm going to click on net sales and gross profit. And I'm just going to, again, click and drag them into that drop zone and let it go. Right away, I've already gotten the answer that I might have needed from the start, but this is usually not enough, of course. So at this point, I start saying to myself, let me get the gross profit percentage. To do so, I just click gross profit and then net sales. You'll notice that the white toolbar changed at the top, this action bar. And now there's only a few selections. Filter isn't there. It knows what I picked. I can either create a summary, calculation, or some kind of drill through, or many other types of items are here. I'm going to focus on creating a calculation. Most folks will want to do basic math, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. In our case, of course, we want percentage of that's gross profit represents of net sales. I pick that, immediately it gives it to me formatted as percentage. The only thing I might want to change is the default name. So in this case, I might say percent, BP percent. And you can see the formula here. So if I wanted to type something else in here, I could, while I'm in here, type that in as well. And I would just simply need to use the checkbox to validate my changes. However, I'm going to undo that just by deleting that text and go with the default calculation. So at this point, I've got a little bit of data. I'd like to click and drag it over to the right. No problem. I just click and drag, and I can see the vertical bar where I want it to drop. I could have brought it to the beginning. Doesn't really matter. So again, pretty intuitive. And at this point, I start saying, let me go ahead and break this out by something else. Let me go to the divisions, for example. I could do it by customer. I can do it by any of the attributes that are into this attribute folder. There's some nicely formatted ones that give me the code and the name, whether it's the division, the item code, the location code, etc. So I'm just going to click and drag full division into my report. And I'm going to bring it to the left side. And right away, I can see all of my divisions at a glance. At this point, I could sort it by division just by clicking on the column and saying sort in ascending order. And now it's by the code. I could have just as easily sorted it by the name. But most of the time, it's better to apply the Pareto rule. For those of you familiar with the Pareto rule, I'm just going to roughly paraphrase. Basically means 80% of what you should be looking at is probably within about 20% of the things you could look at. It's one simple way to look at it. So in this case, I'd probably like to apply the Pareto rule and say, let me go ahead and sort this by net sales, biggest to lowest. So I'll do that in descending order. And now that sortation will be preserved no matter what I do with this report. Oops. And you can see here, office equipment is top, furniture is next. I might say to myself, that's great. Let me see the totals. So I can highlight net sales and go to the summation, or I can highlight each of the columns I'd like to summarize. So in this case, I've got net sales, I've got gross profit and gross profit percentage. If I click summary and go to default summary, and it's going to give me those summaries. Notice that the GP percentage is not the sum of the GP percentage. A lot of people make that mistake and get frustrated in report development. This takes a lot of the guesswork out and the need to do a lot of advanced programming. That's just a taste of how crazy it can get. So at this point, I might take a look at it and say, you know what? I knew about office equipment, furniture, but office supplies don't sound right. That's way higher than I expected. I can go ahead and click on that. And again, using my filter tool, drill into that data. And at this point, I might want to go a little bit further and find out for myself what the item classes are. I'll click and drag that into my report, get rid of my properties to open it up a little bit. And now you can see it's still sorted by net sales, but now I'm looking at each of the classes. Again, I look through it and I say, you know, it must be the arts and crafts. Something's going on there. Again, I filter and keep finding my way down. I could have gone straight from the division to the items, by the way, but I just chose to go down this way. At this point, I might say, let me look at the items. But before I do, let's take a look at the sales reps that are involved. So for that purpose, I'll bring in the full sales rep and see if that changes my breakout. And sure enough, a lot of people are selling this particular division. It's still sorted by net sales, so I'll go with Emma Watson because she is our very best salesperson, apparently, and filter just on her. Now I'm starting to get down to the details. You might want to look at the individual items. Again, I'm just clicking and dragging, but I don't have to pick the ones I'm showing you, of course. I can pick anything from this list of attributes or from the codes, and if this needs to be expanded for some custom work, that can be done as well. We can look at the customers, we can look at the credit reason code. It really doesn't matter, whatever bit you might need. So in this case, I might bring in the invoice and start looking at details, but if I do it at this level, there's probably still too many invoices. So I might just pick a few of these items at random, just to give an example, and say include them. And now if I bring in my invoices, I can really start to track this down. The idea, again, being you can easily ad hoc run these queries without much training. And this is part of what we do during the implementation of S2K Analytics for you to make it easier to use. Now, going forward, I'd like to show you some other bits. One of them would be just in line with our idea that you can drill through. This is an S2K Analytics dashboard. This particular tool is built for a lot of ad hoc querying, as well as including some forecasting capabilities. As you can see, this is a fill rate dashboard that we outlined in our meeting agenda. And you can see that there's fill rate across the company by account period over time at the top. You also see further detail down below regarding who the bottom and top 10 customers were, vendors, as well as their locations. And we can set this up so that you can drill from any of these details into other reports. So, for example, with this demo, we can select a particular customer. In this case, we'll click on Aniston Hardware because they weren't doing too well in the fill rate. We might want to really look into that. So we click on the drill through word, and we're presented with all the reports this is linked to. In this case, it's fill rates and payment history. We click on fill rates. It passes that customer over to this other report for fill rates, giving us a high-level summary of what makes up that fill rate. We can also click from here and open up additional drill throughs. As we go through this process, we can get, again, down to the lowest level of detail. And you typically want to start your analysis at the top so you can truly manage by exception, rather than, again, dumping all of this data into some humongous Excel spreadsheets and spending the better part of a week sifting through the details. So in this case, I might look at this and say to myself, all right, my fill rates look good until I get to furniture. What happened with fill rate? Let me go ahead and click on furniture. That's the division. And now I'm going to go into the fill rates for each of the classes, and from there I'm getting more and more detail right down to the item code level. I could have just as easily inside that dashboard gone ahead and clicked on something else of interest. Just as an example, you might just say to yourself, let me look at the payment history, obviously not directly related to fill rate, but it may be of interest for a variety of reasons we can go into during training. In this case, again, it passes that one customer, Aniston Hardware, and shows us what the payment report looks like for this customer. And as usual, we can send it to Excel, PDF, as we need. Now, moving back to top level, we have a report here that just shows you how you can better organize reports. You can actually create a report that has links to other reports. And this, in turn, can be embedded inside of Smart Center. So here we see that we've got 6 buttons, each one opening up different reports. In this case, if we wanted to, we could open up the inventory turns and GMROI, or gross margin on return on investment. And we're immediately presented with some simple prompts at the top of the screen. For those of you with multiple companies, you'll appreciate that. Most of you do have multiple locations, whether they're sales or distribution centers. We could type in an item code or description and search for that. I'll just click Finish for now. And this is going to give us inventory turns over the past 6 months. Top level, we see sales, costs, and gross profit. And then we see some aggregates for inventory, although these aggregates only apply in those cases where you're comparing items that have similar properties, obviously. So if you're selling a car and a motorcycle, obviously you wouldn't want to compare those in quantity shipment. But our customers' requirements vary a great deal. So at the top level, we're giving you that summary information for when you filter down to that level. So in this case, going across the bottom list, you get all the details about the location that the item sold at, as well as the turns, quantity on hand, costs, and other various information for inventory valuation and how we arrive at inventory turns. To really see the inventory turns and other calculations, including DSI, in more detail, we just click on any one of the item codes. Again, drilling through into the details. And what we see here on the next page is several different breakouts for that particular item at that location, giving us the sales history. Below, we're seeing inventory end of month, what the average costs, inventory value were, and quantity on hand over the last several months, 6 months. And we use that data and combine it in order to make the calculations that we need for turns and DSI. So you can see the costs from sales are brought into this middle list. We're also seeing that the average inventory valuation is brought in. From there, we're able to calculate the inventory turns, which is 9.82. Notice that we can put into this report custom HTML. In this case, it's very simple for anyone who knows HTML. If you have even basic beginner web developers. So they can have a little pop-up giving us a hint, and we can coach them through it. In this case, it's telling us the calculation formula for inventory turns is cost of goods divided by average inventory. You could obviously have a custom calculation to suit your business. Average inventory value per cost, as well as the days for DSI, which is simply 6 months times 30 days. And if we move our mouse over DSI, we see that the days sales of inventory, or DSI, is equal to 18.33. All pretty key metrics. So that just gives us a bit of a drill through. Moving on to the next report, warehouse scanner performance. We get into the warehouse. We haven't really shown off how you can explore that data and make better use of S2K through analytics. So in this case, there's tabs at the top covering scans, quantities, pickers, areas, and zones, as well as receiving picks, physical standing inventory, cycle counts, putaways, even order verification. You also have the ability at the top to filter based on any of the preset filters that are here. We can also customize them and add in any existing filters from the data set that may not currently be available to you, and bring them into this report and customize it as you see fit. Just as we saw before, we were able to scan through and bring in attributes. So in this case, for example, I might bring in, we already have location, maybe I'll bring in the pallet number up to the top, and that instantly creates for us a drop-down list that I can then search and select through. Now, moving forward, we just have four. We're just going to rush through it because, unfortunately, we're running out of time. I want to give you guys a chance to wrap up. But as you can see here, this is a scanner summary analysis, which gives you a top-level analysis, which, again, can be drilled through as you see fit. So here we're getting breakouts by scan type, such as moving the staging area, physical inventory, putaways, and so forth, as well as analysis of scanners by the people taking the scans, which we see here on the bottom axis. Below, we see different areas of your distribution center or other area we're using scanners, maybe the warehouse or the manufacturing plant, staging, etc., and then the zones. Moving back towards open payables for the vendors, if we click on this report, this is one of our base package reports we've had for a while. It's still very useful. It gives you a breakout by vendor, what your open payables are, so you can better manage it. You'll see on the right that it gives you standard aging buckets, 30, 60, 90, 120. That can be customized as needed. And it gives us goes down to the invoice and the voucher number as well, of course, the dates and the purchase order numbers. And then finally, we just want to go over forecasting capabilities. Two main areas that most people zero in on. There's sales rep actuals versus forecast, or it could be division actuals, customer actuals, and so forth, depending upon your business requirements. So in this case, what we see at the top is a graph, and we see the raw numbers below. And this is giving us a drop-down box from which we can select any particular sales rep in our listing. What we see now is a weekly actual versus forecast. The actuals are in blue, and the forecast is the gold line. So we can see in times, certain weeks, we clearly outperformed the forecast. In other times, we didn't hit our forecast. And we can see that down below. We can also see the variance week by week, as well as the percent variance, and on the next page, the grand totals. And then lastly, we can look at the demand planning versus actuals. So for those of you who really want to figure out how best to handle your inventory and make sure you make your purchase orders in advance, you really need this type of information. This one's zeroed in on a specific item, but it could just as easily be on a raw material that's used as part of your bill of materials. And we do that often for our customers. So what you're seeing here is that the black line is the forecasted demand, typically taken for most companies based on 18 months to 3 years. A lot of companies use 2 years of sales history and then allocate based on bill of materials what those items are. In this case, we're just going by a finished good item, canvas, red, small bag. And we can see where it's blue, that's the quantity that actually shipped. So in some weeks, we noticed that we were a little short, which means obviously there was a little bit of hustling for somebody to get enough parts or raw materials in order to fulfill their orders on time. So we can see in week 4, they were only at 912. They needed 912. They only forecasted for about 849, and so forth. We're looking at the summary, though. and this is an unusual case, obviously, but this is a demo, and you can see that here's our grand totals for quantity shipped to this item, what was forecasted, the variance, and the percent variance. By the way, all of our new reports have a report generation time and date stamp at the bottom, and in general, you'll see more and more reports coming from our base package that are in this format, which is our new standard. Just wanted to say thank you all, and to get started, just email us at s2kanalytics@vai.net. If you have any questions or any requests, we'll take care of it from there.